Hey everyone, welcome back to the Incredible India podcast series. I'm Sam, and alongside me is our expert guide, Taylor.
Hey there. So imagine walking into a neighborhood in the deep tropical south of India.
Okay.
You're sweating in that heavy coastal heat, and you turn a corner only to bite into a sandwich made entirely of shattered, deep-fried spirals.
Which is just, yeah, completely unexpected.
Right, and it's totally stuffed with northern Indian spices.
Today, we are exploring a complete geographical and culinary paradox.
It really is. It really messes with your mental map of the country, honestly.
Oh, totally.
Because if you know, anything about Indian cuisine, you almost certainly think of the city of Chennai as the undisputed global capital of South Indian food.
Without a doubt.
Yeah, I mean, it is the city of perfectly fermented, pillowy idlis. It's the home of paper-thin, crisp dosas.
And that iconic, frothy filter coffee.
Exactly. Not to mention temple prasadam, those deeply sacred food offerings given out at the massive local shrines there.
Right, which are deeply rooted in South Indian traditions.
Yeah.
But today, we are diving into a travel and culinary guide from Five Senses Walks that unlocks a completely hidden world.
A world nestled right in the very heart of that exact South Indian landscape.
Yeah. We are stepping into a secret culinary portal inside the city. It's a neighborhood called Sowcarpet. Okay, let's unpack this.
I love that description because stepping into it is a literal physical jolt to the system.
Yeah.
Oh, definitely. To understand why the food in this specific neighborhood defies absolutely everything a visitor might expect from Chennai, we really have to look at the mechanisms of migration.
Right, the history behind it all.
Exactly. And the name Sowcarpet itself offers the first major clue. It comes from Sowcarpet in Tamil.
Okay, what does that mean?
So Sowcar roughly translates to moneylender or merchant, and Petai means quarter or neighborhood.
Oh, wow. So quite literally, the merchant's quarter.
You got it. Centuries ago, Sindhi and Marwari trading communities migrated hundreds of miles south to this exact spot.
See, the obvious question for me is why? Like, why leave the north to settle in a radically different climate and culture?
It comes down to pure economics, honestly.
Just following the money.
Precisely. Chennai was this massive, booming commercial port under British India.
Oh, right.
Yeah, it was the crucial nexus where the Grand Trunk Road, which is, one of Asia's oldest and longest major roads, converged with highly lucrative maritime sea routes.
So the wealth was just flowing through this port.
Exactly. And these merchants from Rajasthan and Sindh simply followed that flow to set up shop.
What fascinates me is the visual contrast today. I mean, it's like living in a house your whole life and suddenly discovering a hidden door that leads into an entirely different country.
That is a perfect way to put it.
Right. Because international travelers from like the UK, Australia, the US, they consistently describe walking into Sowcarpet as stumbling through a portal straight into the alleys of Old Delhi.
Yeah, and once you step through that hidden door, you realize it's not just a room with a few imported souvenirs,
Right.
It is an entirely self-sustaining microeconomy. It has completely insulated itself.
How so? Like visually?
Oh, absolutely. If you walk these lanes today, the architecture just shifts abruptly. You see these Sindhi temples, which are structurally and spiritually completely distinct.
Distinct from the typical Dravidian temples,
Exactly.
right?
Those ancient, massive, intricately carved pyramidal stone structures that utterly dominate the rest of the Tamil landscape. They're nowhere to be seen in these lanes.
Wow.
Instead, you see massive wholesale textile markets vibrating with entirely different color palettes.
And I bet it sounds different too.
Oh, the air itself changes acoustically. It is filled with a linguistic mix of Hindi and Sindhi.
Which acts as this incredible rapid-fire counter-melody to the local Tamil language spoken in the surrounding city.
That's a great way to describe it.
But the insulation brings up a massive historical question for me.
Go for it.
Usually when a community migrates to a new region, especially over the course of centuries, you see a gradual assimilation.
Right, the edges soften over time.
Yeah. They start speaking the local language at home. They start modifying their recipes to incorporate local ingredients.
Which is the natural progression of things.
Exactly. So if these merchants came down here centuries ago for commerce, why didn't their culture just organically blend into the broader South Indian culture over time?
What's fascinating here is that it comes down to a deliberate, fiercely guarded separation of public and private life.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah. These communities were incredibly pragmatic and adaptive in their business dealings. I mean, they had to be. to survive and thrive in a major international port.
Right, you have to play the game to make money.
Exactly. But they were fiercely protective of their domestic culture.
So they drew a hard line.
They did. They actively chose not to assimilate their home lives. They didn't adapt their clothing or their tastes to the local environment.
Wow. Even after all those centuries.
Right. They preserved their traditions faithfully across generations because, to change those traditions would be to lose something essential about their identity in a faraway land.
Yeah, that makes sense. You want to hold on to who you are.
Exactly. That stubborn cultural continuity is the only reason Sowcarpet exists as it does today.
And that fierce dedication to preserving their domestic lives doesn't just stop at the temples or the languages they speak behind closed doors.
Not at all.
It manifests most visibly and deliciously right out in the open on their food carts.
Yes. The food is where this really shines.
Because when you are that dedicated to your roots, you don't alter your grandmother's recipes just because the local climate is hotter.
Never.
Which brings us to the food part of this deep dive. Our sources highlight a stop called Maya Chats on Adyappa Naikan Street.
Ah, yes. Famous for its Pyaz Kachori.
Right. And for the uninitiated listening, chaat is a whole category of Indian street food built on the intense interplay of sweet, sour, spicy, and crunchy elements.
It's a flavor explosion.
It really is. And this kachori is a classic staple of Rajasthan and Uttar Pradesh, completely out of place in South India.
But executed with absolute mastery here.
Yeah.
Oh, the mechanics of a perfect kachori are actually quite difficult to pull off. It's a deep-fried pastry, but the dough has to be rolled with extreme precision.
Because of how it cooks.
Exactly. The goal is to drop it into hot oil so the exterior blisters rapidly. That creates a shatteringly crisp shell without burning the outside before the inside cooks.
That sounds like a really delicate balance.
It is. And inside that shell, it's packed with a mixture of spiced onion and yellow lentils.
Yeah.
But they don't just chop the onions, they cook them down slowly until they almost dissolve into a savory paste.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, seasoned heavily with cumin, coriander, and crucially, dried mango powder.
Dried mango powder.
Yes, which provides this bright, sour kick to cut through the richness of the frying oil.
That sounds incredible. You break open that blistered, steaming pastry right there in the alleyway, and it's served with two contrasting chutneys, right?
Yep.
A deep, sticky, sweet tamarind chutney and a sharp, cold green mint and coriander chutney.
Eating that specific flavor profile in a humid Chennai lane is totally mind-bending.
I can imagine. But if you want to see just how militant they are about preservation, you walk over to Ramanan Road.
To a place called Sri Vada Pav.
Exactly. They serve an exact, uncompromising replica of Mumbai's greatest street food.
Complete absolute fidelity to the Mumbai original.
It's wild.
It is. The vada pav is essentially a spiced potato dumpling. The potato is boiled, mashed, and flavored heavily with mustard seeds, fresh curry leaves, turmeric, and green chili.
Okay.
Then it's dipped in a chickpea flour batter and deep fried.
So much deep frying. I love it.
Always. And then that dense hot dumpling is stuffed into a soft, slightly sweet white bun called a pav.
But the real engineering secret of the dish is the garlic chutney it's served with, right?
Oh, absolutely.
Our sources say it is a fiercely pungent dry garlic and coconut chutney that will literally make your eyes water.
Exactly. And it has to be that fierce.
Why is that?
Think about the physics of the dish. You are eating dense potato starch wrapped in a soft bread starch.
All right, that's heavy.
Very heavy. Without a highly aggressive, pungent element to slice right through all those heavy carbohydrates, the dish would be exhausting to eat.
It would just be a mouthful of mush.
Exactly. That fiery garlic chutney is the mechanism that keeps your palate awake.
I see.
And the vendors in Sowcarpet didn't tone down that spice for local South Indian palates. They didn't swap the ingredients for local alternatives at all.
They kept the entire structural integrity exactly as it is in Maharashtra, 400 kilometers to the north.
Precisely.
Wait, so this is where I get tripped up.
What's that?
On one hand, they are strictly protecting their Vadapav recipe, refusing to alter a single mustard seed to appease the locals.
Right.
But on the other hand, the sources point out that Sowcarpet is home to a dish that exists literally nowhere else on Earth, the Murukku sandwich.
Ah, yes, the Murukku sandwich.
For context for the listener, Murukku is a deeply savory, incredibly crisp South Indian snack made from rice flour and urad dal, which is like an earthy black gram flour.
Right. It's traditionally made in Tamil households for the Diwali festival.
It is as culturally South Indian as you can possibly get.
It really is. The batter is usually pressed through a star-shaped mold directly into boiling oil. deep fried into a crunchy, intricate spiral that just shatters the moment you bite into it.
The star shape maximizes the surface area, ensuring ultimate crunchiness.
Exactly.
So they fiercely guard their northern recipes. But then someone in this neighborhood looks at this shattered, crunchy, distinctly South Indian staple and decides to use it as the bread for a North Indian-style chat sandwich.
Yeah. They pack it with cucumber, tomato, mint chutney, and sev.
That feels like a massive contradiction. I mean, how did these two mentalities, strict, uncompromising preservation and wild, rule-breaking fusion, coexist on the exact same street?
Well, it sounds contradictory until you view it through the lens of culinary engineering.
Okay, explain that.
It is actually the ultimate expression of mutual respect.
Mutual respect.
Yeah. So Sowcarpet is this rare ecosystem where two great food traditions met and recognize the mechanical genius in each other's work.
Oh, that's a cool way to look at it.
The North Indian vendors respected the South Indian muruku enough to realize its structural superiority.
Because it's so crunchy.
Exactly. That nutty, savory, heavily textured crunch could act as a perfect waterproof vessel for their own wet, spiced chat fillings without getting soggy like normal bread.
Oh, wow, that is genius.
Right. It allowed for both the rigid preservation of the old guard, like the vada pav, and the invention of something incredibly innovative that neither culture could have engineered alone.
It's the culinary embodiment of the neighborhood's entire history on a single paper plate.
Perfectly said.
But, street food is just calories without the artisans who actually manufacture it.
The people behind the food.
Exactly.
Yeah.
We have to look at the legendary characters anchoring Mint Street, because the human element is what anchors these recipes.
Oh, absolutely.
Let's look at Dinesh Soni.
The proprietor of Enmal Lassi. His background completely reframes how you watch him work.
It really does.
Sure.
Because Dinesh Soni is a former professional wrestler.
Yeah.
He spent years competing in grueling North Indian wrestling circuits. And then, roughly 30 years ago, he traded the canvas of the wrestling ring for a chaotic street corner on Mint Street.
But he didn't leave the athleticism behind.
Not at all.
He brings this intense, highly focused wrestling physicality to churning Kezar or saffron lassi every single evening.
Watching him is supposed to be a sensory experience in itself.
Oh, it is. He occupies his corner with absolute physical authority. I mean, churning hundreds of liters of thick yogurt by hand requires immense stamina.
I can't even imagine. My arm gets tired stirring pancake batter.
Right. And the lassi he engineers is extraordinary because of the specific parameters he demands.
What kind of parameters?
Well, he uses a velvet smooth curd that hasn't been allowed to ferment to the point of sourness, which, by the way, is a very difficult balance to strike in a hot climate.
Oh, I bet.
He infuses it with real saffron, which turns the entire batch this deep, glowing amber gold. And it gives it a floral warmth you can physically feel lingering in the back of your throat.
That sounds so luxurious.
It is. He dials in the sugar perfectly, adds a rich float of dried cream on top for textural contrast, and serves it in enormous chilled glasses that are misted with condensation from the heat.
Wow. It's as if he's wrestling the actual curd into submission.
He really is.
He just took all that raw physical discipline and redirected it into dairy.
Totally.
And just down the lane from him, you witness a completely different iteration of stamina at the Kakada Ramprasad family stall.
Stamina is the only word for it. They have been manufacturing and serving jalebi on the exact same geographic coordinates for 60 years.
6 decades.
Yeah.
The recipe has not been altered since India was a newly independent nation.
Think about that.
And making jalebi is a delicate science. They take a fermented flour and yogurt batter, pipe it directly into a massive vat of boiling clarified butter in a rapid double loop shape.
It happens so fast.
Right. They fry it for under 2 minutes until it forms a delicate lacework, and then drop it instantly into a vat of sugar syrup.
And the vendors serve it alongside their famous aloo tikki.
Which are those seasoned potato patties, right?
Yeah, but they're pressed completely flat on a heavy iron tawa, weighed down until they form a deep mahogany, heavily lacquered crust.
My mouth is literally watering.
I know, but the physics of that jalebi process is a masterclass in street food engineering.
Because of the fermentation.
Exactly. Because the batter is fermented, it develops lactic acid, giving it a slight sourness that is absolutely necessary to balance the aggressive sweetness of the syrup.
Oh, I see.
When they pipe that batter into the incredibly hot, clarified butter, the exterior flash fries instantly. It forms a rigid structural shell before the inside can fully cook.
Okay, so it's crispy on the outside.
Right. Then, when it's plunged into the syrup seconds later, capillary action sucks that liquid rapidly into the porous, steam-hollowed crust.
Oh, wow.
So the jalebi is explosively sweet and liquid on the inside, but fiercely crunchy on the outside.
And then paired with the crackling, savory crust of the aloo tikki.
The contrast in textures is just staggering.
But think about the philosophical weight of that for a second.
Okay.
How much has the world changed in the last 60 years? We've gone through technological revolutions, massive political shifts, the total globalization of culture.
Right.
How does a single jalebi recipe survive all of that completely untouched?
It survives because of the profound discipline of perfection.
The discipline of perfection.
Yeah. In our modern culinary culture, there is a relentless, exhausting pressure to innovate, to disrupt, to constantly create the next viral hybrid dish for social media.
Oh, tell me about it. Everything has to be a stunt.
Exactly. But the Kakata Ramprasad family operates on a much older logic. When you achieve a mechanism that works perfectly, you simply do not tamper with it.
You just let it be.
Right. For you, the listener, who is likely navigating a fast-paced, ever-changing, completely unpredictable daily life, there's a very rare anchoring comfort in finding a corner of the world that remains a reliable constant.
It is a recipe that has literally outlived political administrations.
Edible history.
Edible history, I love that. Okay, so we've mapped out the merchant history, the mechanics of the food, the larger-than-life artisans.
Yep.
But let's ground this in the practical reality of actually standing in these lanes. Because experiencing Sowcarpet is a full-body, high-intensity event.
It is not for the faint of heart.
Right. And according to the Five Senses Walks Guide, the entire ecosystem shifts gears at a very specific time.
Okay.
Exactly 4:38 p.m.
It is a complete atmospheric transformation.
Really, just like that.
Just like that. During the peak of the day, Sowcarpet functions purely as a frantic wholesale trading market. It's focused on textiles, plastics, and bulk goods.
Okay.
But when that flat, blinding white afternoon heat begins to soften into a warm, forgiving amber evening, the commercial rhythm breaks.
The day shift ends.
Exactly. The wholesale shopkeepers pull their metal shutters down halfway, signaling the end of the trading day, and the food vendors immediately take over the newly opened street space.
And that is when the sensory assault really takes off.
Oh, big time.
I'm looking at photos of these lanes from the source material. These alleys are barely wide enough for two people to walk shoulder to shoulder in normal circumstances.
Right.
Yet you have sputtering auto rickshaws and actual literal cows actively competing with pedestrians for the exact same narrow sliver of pavement.
It's chaotic. And the smells alone are overwhelming in their complexity.
I can't even imagine.
You have the heavy, rich scent of hot frying oil rising from a dozen different stalls, physically mixing in the humid air with the sharp, sweet fragrance of fresh marigolds and jasmine.
Because of the flower market nearby.
Right, yes, spilling over from the wholesale flower bazaar. And underneath all of that, there is the acrid bite of coal smoke from the chai stalls.
Wow.
Cut by the floral perfume of saffron from Dinesh Soni's lassi stand. And acoustically, the walls are echoing with the bartering and shouting in that unique blend of Tamil and Hindi.
Okay, let me stop you there and play devil's advocate for the listener. Sure. Because it sounds incredibly evocative, but it also sounds, well, entirely overwhelming.
It definitely can be.
So if I am a savvy traveler and I want to taste a piaz kachori or a muruku sandwich, why not just go to a nice, sanitized, air-conditioned restaurant in a quieter part of Chennai that serves this exact same food?
It's a fair question.
Right. Why endure the chaos, the hot oil, the traffic, and the maze of the streets? Do I really need to be in the alleyway with a guided walk?
Well, you can certainly eat a kachori in a sterile restaurant, but it strips the food of its entire context. The map is not the territory.
Meaning what, exactly?
Sowcarpet is a disorienting labyrinth by design. The very best heritage stalls have absolutely no signage.
No signs at all.
None. The vendors are operating at maximum capacity. They generally don't speak English. And if they happen to have a menu, it provides zero historical context.
So you're just pointing and hoping for the best.
Exactly. If you walk these lanes alone with just a smartphone, you could easily brush past Dinesh Soni and merely see a man pouring a yellow drink into a glass.
You'd miss the whole story.
You would have no idea you were watching a former professional wrestler who redirected his physical prowess into 30 years of culinary craft.
And you'd bite into the muruku sandwich and just think it was a crunchy snack.
Right.
Completely oblivious to the fact that you were tasting a massive cross-cultural breakthrough.
Exactly. Without a guide, the narrative remains entirely invisible. The expert cultural food evangelists from Five Senses Walks aren't just there to point you toward hygienic food or keep you from getting physically lost in the maze.
They're storytellers.
Yes, they provide the living cultural context that elevates a mere snack into a profound emotional connection with the city and its centuries of history.
They introduce you to the vendors as complex human beings, not just anonymous service providers.
Exactly. The chaos of the street is part of the recipe. The food was literally engineered to be eaten standing up, amidst the noise and the heat.
It is the fundamental difference between just consuming calories and actually digesting the culture.
That's a great way to put it.
Which brings us right back to that hidden door metaphor from the start of our deep dives.
Oh, right.
We began by talking about finding a secret portal inside a house you thought you already mapped out. Sowcarpet is the ultimate manifestation of that.
It really is.
A doorway to another time, another region, preserved with startling clarity in the absolute last place you would ever expect to find it.
And, Sowcarpet thrives precisely because it is a hidden world operating in plain sight.
Yeah.
It refuses to blend in, yet it is utterly essential to the fabric of Chennai. It makes you wonder, what invisible microcultures carrying centuries of unchanged traditions are you walking blindly past in your own city every single day?
Oh, that's a brilliant thought to leave off on. If you decide to travel to Chennai, we have a recommendation. Five Senses Tours organizes tours across India, which are immersive cultural experiences. You can email contact@fivesensestours.com. Note 5 is written as a numeral in contact at fivesensestours.com or WhatsApp to +919 845 677 446.